Oh, good to have you with us. South Africa has signed a landmark agreement at the COP27 summit. It's a lot of money. Around 150 billion rand has been earmarked to decommission coal power plants and shift towards greener energy. The plan will also see the development of green hydrogen and even electric vehicle production in our country. It's aiming to contribute efforts to keep global warming to 1.5 degrees. Let's get reaction now from energy expert. It's always good to have Lungile Mashele back on eNCA with us. Lungile, good morning to you again. 150 billion rand. I suppose it's a good place to start. What do you make of all of it?
So good morning to you and your viewers. It certainly is a good place to start, but I want to caution that the devil is in the details, really. Government has not shared any comprehensive macroeconomic modeling. They have not shared any concise plans on what this money is actually allocated for. What they have said to us is that it is for a myriad of things, studies, consulting, and for the coal transition, ultimately. But the detail is what is actually missing, and that is what might trip us over at some point.
Yeah, the devil's always in the details, isn't it, Lungile, as well? Do you get a sense whether it's the political rhetoric or the expert rhetoric that we could realistically, perhaps in the next 10 to 15 years, start moving away from our dependency on coal? I imagine that's what you'd like to see.
So we are certainly on a path of moving away from coal. This has always been detailed in the integrated resource plan as early as 2010. So we knew which plants had to be decommissioned and when. Now, what is happening with the 8.5 billion US dollar allocation fund is that they are paying us to transition faster. But wait, I actually am not correct in saying that they're paying us. We're taking out loans from international partner groups as well as climate investment funds to transition faster for ultimately their benefit. But no one has clearly outlined what South Africa's benefit is in transitioning faster. We do have transition plans that are in place, decommissioning plans that are in place. All we're going to be doing is moving them up to a quicker date, ultimately. And we are going to have to pay for this in concessional as well as commercial funding.
I was about to say that money, it's a loan. You're 100% correct. It's not a gift. It's a loan which has to be paid back at some point. And I suppose a lot of people are going to ask the question as well, is there money in green energy? There's an awful amount of money in coal energy, but we need to move away from coal. Is there money, and do you think there's the will for South Africa and South Africans to move towards green energy? Do we seem like a green energy country to your mind, Lungile?
So we certainly do have the wind as well as the solar resource in order to move into green energy. And we have been doing this since 2011, I would say. And we've been successful at that, running competitive bidding rounds, with the most recent one being the bid window 6, which is yet to be announced who the preferred bidders are. But we've been doing this, and successfully so. The problem with coal is that nobody is willing to fund coal globally. So even if we do have resources in this country and we do want to invest in new coal-fired power plants, technically we cannot, because we do not have our own money. We would have to go to the global capital markets, and the global capital markets are basically saying they're not willing to fund coal. They're only willing to fund renewables. So we are basically between a rock and a hard place of saying whether we like it or not, we have to transition. Whether that will ensure energy security for South Africans, now that's another topic.
Yeah, it's another topic. I heard someone the other day on radio saying it's actually not between a rock and a hard place. We're stuck between coal and a hard place. Lungile, just a last question to you. You mentioned at the start of our conversation that not much detail, devil in the details where we want to be. Give me one detail that you would like to hear around this loan. What's the one thing you'd like to hear where this money is going to go as I say goodbye to you?
So for me, the key thing is let's have a detailed plan of where the money is going to be coming from, where it is going to, but also who's going to pay back this money. We know that there was $8.5 billion that was requested and has been approved. They've granted an additional $10 billion, and the president has asked for $1.5 trillion. Yep. Now, the question becomes, how long is this money going to be required for? What is it going to be used for? Who's going to pay it back and how? That is what we do not have.